My husband drove drunk and hit someone, then lied to me, asking me to take the blame and go to jail for him. When I got out of prison, my husband had already remarried, and his new wife was my best friend. My 5-year-old daughter was chained to the balcony, living like a dog. Afraid I would seek revenge, they hit me with a car and killed me. But when I opened my eyes, I was reborn. My husband Tom was kneeling in front of me, desperately begging me to take the blame for him. I kicked him to the ground and said, "Go to jail, you criminal, Tom, how dare you be so cruel?" I thought to myself. I wanted to tear him apart. But instead, I decided to calm him down first. Seeing his frantic state, I pretended to comply with his request to change clothes, but I secretly locked the door and called the police. When the police arrived, Tom was startled, banging on the bathroom door, begging me to come out. The police found him hiding in the closet, naked, and took him away in handcuffs, despite my protests. As they led Tom away, my 2-year-old daughter came out, asking me why I was crying. While dealing with my husband's arrest, my in-laws arrived, blaming me for his troubles. They accused me of not informing them, but I quickly took charge, mentioning Olivia, who had a relative working at the police station. Arrangements were made to try and resolve the situation. When Olivia arrived, she was hesitant to help financially, but eventually offered to lend me $200,000. Olivia had her secrets too. She was in the car with Tom during the accident. If this information got out, it could risk her job. Despite the risks, Olivia agreed to help, but could only provide $200,000. I looked at her gratefully. "Olivia, Tom will definitely not forget your kindness. If Tom really gets out of this, I will kindly help them get together. A whore pairs with a dog, and they will be together forever. They are such a good match. It's a pity if they are not together." After dealing with the little bitch, I turned my attention to my in-laws. My mother-in-law looked at me straightforwardly. "Tom has gotten into such a big trouble. Your father's side should help. He has a retirement pension. It should be time to use it now. The old bastard is even targeting my father." "Mom, I have already contacted my father's side. His retirement pension is all invested. It will take a week to withdraw. He promised me that once the money is in, it will be transferred immediately. In a week, Tom would have long been gone." My in-laws were anxious and asked me to hand over the $200,000 borrowed from Olivia. They would figure it out themselves. Are they on guard against me? I immediately handed over the money and actively provided the location of the hospital where the victim was. "Mom, Dad, you need to hurry." Whether it's kneeling and begging for forgiveness, or being scolded or beaten by the other party, insist they accept this money and bring back a forgiveness letter, okay? When she heard this, a look of fear flashed across my mother-in-law's face. I added, "You must also comfort the victim's family and not neglect the follow-up work. Even if you have to beg or make sacrifices, you have to make sure they forgive." A hint of uneasiness flashed across Olivia's face. Then she persuaded me, "Sophia, Auntie and Uncle are old. It's not suitable for them to handle this kind of thing. You should go instead." But I hesitated, glancing at my mother-in-law. The next moment, the old lady directly handed the card to me. "You go." I secretly rejoiced, but had to pretend reluctantly. I had been passively accepting everything for so long that my mother-in-law would never suspect I had the guts to do something like this. My mother-in-law scolded me again. "Why aren't you going yet? Don't you want to save Tom?" I immediately headed out. After that, I went into the house to pick up my daughter, preparing to leave. Seeing me with my daughter, a look of doubt crossed my mother-in-law's face. "Why are you taking the victim's family with you?" I pretended to be helpless and said, "Mom, Emma is so young. The other side may take pity on our child and might even settle for less." Hearing my explanation, my mother-in-law nodded in agreement. "At least you have some brains. Hurry up and go." I quickly left with my daughter, not daring to stay for a moment. My daughter was my soft spot. Only after settling her and her father could I deal with these scum properly. After leaving the house, I immediately transferred the money from the bank card. Looking at the balance on my phone, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Consider this $800,000 as compensation for my youth. Wanting Tom to come out? Dream on. The real show was yet to come, and I would play along with them next. I disappeared for a whole morning. My in-laws were close to blowing up my phone. Olivia was also trying to find me through various channels. In the evening, I contacted Olivia on my own initiative. I gave her an address and asked her to come find me alone, without informing my in-laws. Knocking at the door, I got up and opened it slightly to find Olivia standing outside. After a quick assessment, I confirmed she was alone. Then I let her in. As soon as Olivia entered, she began complaining discontentedly. "Sophia, what are you up to? Ignoring calls and messages. Are you planning to disappear from the face of the earth? I stood with my arms crossed, staring at her. Perhaps sensing her poor tone, Olivia suddenly changed her approach. Sophia, I'm just so worried about you. That's why I'm so worked up. Tom is cheating. My unexpected words startled Olivia. She looked at me in disbelief. How do you know? I happened to see the transaction records on his phone, as well as the couple's hotel reservation for Valentine's Day. I'm pretty sure he's cheating. But I haven't found out who the third party is yet. Upon hearing my words, Olivia visibly relaxed. She asked me, so what are you going to do? I said coldly, if Tom is heartless, I'll be ruthless. Let him rot in jail. As for that third party, I'll definitely find her. Olivia turned pale with fear, staring blankly ahead. I patted her shoulder suddenly, causing her to jump in fright. Olivia, what's on your mind? Your expression is so strange. Feeling guilty, Olivia dared not meet my gaze. It's nothing. I'm just surprised that Tom would actually cheat. Why wasn't she surprised when they were having an affair? Olivia, do me a favor. I want to divorce Tom. Olivia suddenly looked up at me. Divorce? But Tom is currently in jail. How can you divorce? As long as I get evidence of Tom's affair, I can file for divorce. The mention of evidence nearly scared Olivia to death. She asked me what evidence, and I told her that Tom had once taken that woman to their new home for the night. The surveillance at the new house should have captured these moments. Only Tom and his parents have keys to that house. To obtain evidence, I decided to force the door with a locksmith and have her distract Tom's parents while I go to their house. Olivia readily agreed, asking me when I would repay the 200,000 yuan she lent me. The money she had secretly saved from Tom over the years was more than that. How dare she ask me for more? But for now, I couldn't afford to fall out with her. I said, I will repay you after I finish dividing the property with Tom. Very reluctantly, Olivia, feeling guilty, did not dare to ask me again. Late at night, Olivia called me, asking why I hadn't gone to the new house to get the evidence. Am I trying to trap myself? I asked her. How do you know I didn't go to the new house? There was silence on the other end of the line until I came up with an excuse. Olivia, you must care about me and secretly followed me to the new house. Saw me turn around and leave, right? Olivia quickly said yes, then asked why I had turned back. I said I saw lights on in the house and guessed there was someone inside. Olivia, was it just a coincidence, or was there a leak? Olivia didn't dare to answer and changed the subject. She asked where I was, but I didn't tell her. Making up an excuse, I hung up the phone. After sleeping for who knows how many hours, there was a knock at the door. I got up and opened the door. My parents-in-law stood outside with grim faces, my mother-in-law's eyes fixed on me. You wretch, how dare you take the money and run away? As she spoke, my mother-in-law pulled out a stick from behind and swung it at me. I quickly dodged and she lost her balance, falling to the ground. Struggling to stand, she lunged at me again. Sophia, you deceitful woman, you didn't save my son and you ran away with the money. I walked over and sat down on the sofa, quietly listening to her cursing. They must have been led here by my best friend, right? My father-in-law, in contrast to my mother-in-law, was much calmer. He pulled my mother-in-law back and said in a strange tone, didn't you see she's deaf? Save your saliva, she scammed us for money, let's report her to the police directly. After Tom comes out, she won't be spared. The mother-in-law echoed strongly in agreement. Yes, report her to the police and let her go to jail. Let's see how that old man and his despicable daughter can live without this wicked mother. This old lady, if she doesn't like me, fine. But to bear such hatred towards her own granddaughter. No wonder after I was in prison, she let Olivia, this wicked woman, abuse my daughter. With nowhere to release my anger, I raised my hand and slapped the mother-in-law on her face. The mother-in-law was directly knocked to the ground by me. She stared at me in shock. How dare you hit me? I rushed up and kicked her. I'm not only going to hit you, but I'm also going to kick you. You old hag, try saying one more bad word about my daughter. If it weren't for going to jail for killing someone, I would definitely slaughter these two old people today. The father-in-law was so angry he stomped his feet, took out his phone, and said he would call the police. I angrily shouted, go ahead and call the police, let them investigate the origin of that money properly. Hearing my words, the father-in-law stopped, looking at me in surprise. I coldly smiled. What? Afraid or hesitating to call the police? Say that I cheated you out of money and let the police investigate where that money really came from, as well as all the money left in your accounts, investigate it thoroughly. The father-in-law panicked, his hands shaking uncontrollably holding the phone. What do you know, after all? I coldly said, at least I slept in the same bed as Tom, so I know a little about the dirty things he did. As for the specifics of what Tom did at the company, I really don't know. Last life, when I came out of prison, Tom and Olivia were already successful. In just a few years, they lived in a villa, drove luxury cars, and had tens of millions in assets. For revenge against my husband, I kept investigating and finally found out about him secretly moving the company assets. Before I could clear things up, I was killed by Tom and Olivia acting together. Last night, I intentionally had Olivia coax the in-laws to their new home. While I went to their house to find evidence. Tom didn't say anything to me, but he had no guard up against his father. The information and evidence of the bad things he did were all hidden in the in-laws' house. These two, father and son, are really despicable. I don't have enough evidence in my hands yet, but it's more than enough to scare this old man. I spoke vaguely, but the father-in-law thought I really had some evidence, and his face turned pale. He signaled to the mother-in-law, and her attitude immediately improved towards me. Sophia, you have been in my house for so long. I have always treated you like a daughter. How can you do this when Tom is in trouble? What about your marriage bond? After all, he is Emma's father, right? I sneered disdainfully. Marriage bond? When he was fooling around and finding mistresses, did he care about my feelings? I deliberately shifted the hatred towards jealousy in relationships. The mother-in-law's expression calmed down a bit, trying to please me. Let Tom off this time for the sake of our daughter, she said. She dares to mention her daughter now, who was just cursing and calling her a wicked woman earlier. What a shameless old woman. You better leave when nothing's wrong, let me be alone. The in-laws, afraid that I would report to the police, dared not mention the money again, and then made an excuse to leave. Watching their hasty departure, I guess they were probably going to destroy the evidence. Let's see who is faster. Sophia, there's news, come quickly. I received a call from my good friend Kitty and rushed to the hospital. Only in the second life did I know who was true and who was false around me. I and Kitty, along with Olivia, grew up in the same courtyard since we were little, but my relationship with Kitty was not as close as with Olivia. Olivia said Kitty was too arrogant and not to get too close to her. Later, I realized that Olivia was jealous of Kitty because she came from a better family. The only person who helped me when I came out of prison last time was Kitty. Today, penniless as I am, would have starved to death in the street long ago if it weren't for her help. Sophia, I turned and saw Kitty. She handed me her phone, asking me to watch the video she took, her words filled with anger. I never expected Olivia to be so despicable after knowing you for over a decade. In the video, my mother-in-law was seen accompanying Olivia as they walked hand in hand to the gynecology department of the hospital. In the previous life, when I got out, Olivia and Tom's child was already 3 years old. In other words, she got pregnant shortly after I went to prison. While I was still adjusting to prison life, Tom couldn't wait to come and ask for a divorce. He said he didn't want his daughter's mother to be labeled as an inmate when she started school. Thinking of their poor daughter, I agreed to the divorce. But the truth was that Olivia got pregnant and it was a boy. Only then did Tom urgently seek a divorce from me to marry her. Knowing Olivia's temperament, if she found out she was pregnant, she would definitely go to Tom. Now that Tom has been arrested, her next target will be my mother-in-law. After settling my daughter that day, I immediately went to find Kitty. She lived across from Olivia and me, so I asked her to keep an eye on Olivia. Kitty, thank you so much this time. Kitty patted my shoulder comfortingly. Don't be polite with me. I can't stand people who stab others in the back. What do you plan to do next? If you want the divorce to succeed, you must obtain evidence of his affair. The child in Olivia's womb would be the most compelling evidence. With this child and the footage from the car's surveillance camera, I have enough evidence. I am planning to get a divorce. Kitty nodded in agreement. Why keep a scumbag like him around? Don't go easy on Olivia. She's too wicked, treating you like a fool. I won't let this bitch off the hook. Thinking of all the things she did to my daughter, I wanted nothing more than to skin her alive. My father had an accident. When I received the call, I collapsed to the ground. If it weren't for the kind passersby helping me, I wouldn't even know how to get to the hospital. Kitty, is my father okay? At the hospital, I held Kitty's hand tightly, staring helplessly at the operating room. Kitty couldn't answer my question, just kept comforting me while apologizing. Sophia, I'm sorry. I never thought I'd be followed. It's not Kitty's fault. Tom knew the address of my hometown. He was aware that my father and daughter were my weakness, and my hometown was not safe. So I asked Kitty to help me find a place to temporarily settle them. I looked around and didn't see my daughter. My heart couldn't help but rise to my throat. Where is Emma? Emma was taken away by her grandmother. I was in a hurry to take my uncle to the hospital and didn't have time for Emma. My mind was in chaos, wanting to go and snatch back my daughter, but I couldn't bear to leave my father in the operating room. It must be Olivia. Only she could pay attention to Kitty, thus finding out the whereabouts of my father. My inner anger reached its peak in an instant. If I don't tear this woman apart, I don't deserve to be a daughter or a mother. The surgery ended in time, my father was delivered in time, there was no immediate danger to his life. Learning this news, I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. After entrusting Kitty to take care of my father, I went straight to my in-laws' house. I absolutely couldn't let my daughter fall into the hands of these scumbags. When my in-laws opened the door and saw me, their faces immediately darkened. "What are you doing here?" I pushed past her, trying to enter the house, but was firmly blocked outside the door. "You wicked woman, our house can't accommodate you, get out." "Karen, give me back my daughter. Otherwise, don't blame me for blowing everything up." Facing my threat, my mother-in-law was indifferent. "Emma is my granddaughter. She'll learn bad things from you, a wicked woman." Time was limited, I didn't want to waste too much time arguing with this old woman. "Old witch, I'll ask you one last time. Do you want to give my daughter back to me?" Before my mother-in-law could respond, I heard Olivia's voice behind her. "Sophia, what's going on? How can you talk to Auntie like that?" I turned around and slapped Olivia across the face without any hesitation. I showed no mercy. She covered her face, looking at me with surprise. "Sophia, are you crazy? You even hit me." "I'm hitting you, you wicked woman. What have you done? Have you no guilt in your heart?" She couldn't meet my eyes with guilt and stubbornly tried to defend herself. "What are you saying?" "I have no idea. Let's go down together. Even if I die, I will drag these scumbags to hell with me." Olivia looked at me suspiciously, then opened her phone in a panic. She stared at the screen in shock, trembling. "How is this possible? You've gone mad." I had sent the video from the car's recorder to Olivia's work group. In the video, the two of them were so reckless in the car. Olivia's moans were also heard in the video. "You love me so passionately, aren't you afraid of not being able to explain to your wife when you get back?" Tom said, "Forget that yellow-faced woman, it's a damper. How can her saggy and loose flesh compare to your enchanting allure?" Oh, so my years of hard work were just seen as a yellow-faced woman in Tom's eyes. The reason I didn't explode at the first moment but pretended to cooperate with them was to gather all the evidence that would be beneficial to me. Yes, I have gone crazy. You've driven me to madness. My father and Emma are my bottom line. If you dare to touch them, then let's die together. As I approached, Olivia nervously backed away, looking at me with fear. "When did you find out?" I grabbed her by the collar and questioned her. "We've known each other for more than 10 years. I treated you as my best friend. Why would you treat me like this?" "Olivia, are you even human?" Olivia suddenly laughed. She even looked somewhat smug as she stared at me. "You kept flaunting in front of me, boasting about how much your husband loves you and takes care of the family. Well, I just wiggled my finger and he took the bait. Did I flaunt?" I thought of her as a good friend, hoping she could find happiness, encouraging her to get married early. But in her eyes, it somehow became my boasting? Just because of this, you can shamelessly seduce someone else's husband? You're truly despicable. Olivia stomped her foot in frustration. "I advise you to quickly take down the video, and then claim that you intentionally framed me, otherwise you will regret it." I chuckled at how thick-skinned must Olivia be to say such words. "Then tell me, how exactly are you going to make me regret it?" I retorted. Olivia glared at me maliciously. "I can make it so you never see your daughter again." I panicked, my previously calm demeanor thrown off balance. Urgently, I looked at Olivia, my voice trembling with fear. "Is my daughter in your hands? What have you done to her? Threatening me with my daughter, don't you think it's despicable?" Olivia nodded smugly. "Yes, your daughter is in my hands. If you don't listen and do as I say, don't blame me for taking action against your daughter." I turned to look at my in-laws standing behind me. "Regardless, Emma is still Tom's granddaughter. How can you treat her like this?" My mother-in-law sneered. "That brat is just a compensation. Olivia is carrying our family's grandchild. Do as Olivia demands, quickly. Or don't blame us for being rough with that little wench. Cutting off limbs is nothing to us. If you provoke us, we'll kill her directly. That heartless old thing. Olivia's heart is truly ruthless. Impatiently, Olivia urged me on, looking like an ant on a hot pan. With every second of delay, it meant one more person witnessing her ugly side. Sophia, I advise you to hurry up. Otherwise, be prepared for your daughter's funeral. I stared at her and burst out laughing. Confused, she scrutinized me and demanded, "What are you laughing at?" I gestured for her to turn around. Behind her, several police officers were already approaching us. Olivia had not yet grasped what was happening. Just looking puzzledly at me, she questioned, "You called the police?" I raised my phone, the screen indicating an ongoing call. "Olivia, I called the police station when you arrived." The entire conversation was monitored by the police. "You and these two old folks are now caught red-handed with the kidnapping of my daughter. I suggest you be honest. Do you really think I'm a fool, knowing well that they took away my daughter just to threaten me? Why did I walk right into their trap willingly? On my way from the hospital, I had already called the police. Olivia dared to have someone follow Kitty, snatch my daughter to threaten me. Naturally, she had to pay the corresponding legal price for her actions. If I reported to the police that my mother-in-law took away her granddaughter, the police would only consider it a family dispute, and there would be no way to bring Olivia to justice. Only by making Olivia confess in person that she kidnapped my daughter could we get her behind bars. Having lived two lives, no one understands Olivia better than me. Her pride, her arrogance, her disdain for me, destined her to a bad ending. The police showed the silver handcuffs, ready to take Olivia away. Olivia was terrified, stumbling to defend herself. "Officer, she coerced me. I didn't do it. I really didn't." The police looked at her seriously. "Olivia, we have found the child Emma whom you forcibly took from your home." Olivia was dumbfounded. She had never expected the police would act so swiftly. The reason I danced around Olivia was also to buy time, to let the police find my daughter in the shortest possible time and rescue her. My daughter was their most powerful leverage to threaten me, knowing I would rush to my in-laws' house. Naturally, they wouldn't leave my daughter there. The most likely place was Olivia's house. When the police informed me through the earpiece that they had found my daughter, I breathed a sigh of relief. No longer pretending with Olivia, and laid everything on the table with her. Olivia's face turned pale in an instant. She stared at me blankly, then began to shout frantically, "No, I don't want to go to jail." No one expected Olivia to attack the police, let alone take me as a hostage to threaten them. Olivia grabbed a fruit knife from the dining table and pressed it against my neck. We were too close, and the incident was too abrupt for anyone to react. Olivia was not right emotionally. She shouted angrily at the police, "Get out! Stay away from me, or I'll kill her." The police tried to calm Olivia down as much as possible without provoking her. "I don't want to go to jail. All of you get out." Olivia waved the sharp knife, signaling the police to back off. The sharp blade cut my neck, and blood instantly oozed out. For my safety, the police dared not move any further. Everyone was trying to persuade Olivia, but her emotions had already collapsed. All she wanted was to escape with me as her hostage. In a critical moment, I suddenly asked Olivia, "The person you are most jealous of isn't Kitty, but me, right?" Olivia froze, staring blankly at me, unwilling to let me see her deepest insecurity. "What nonsense are you talking about? Why would I be jealous of you? Your beloved husband, the man you love, is me. You're just a fool I've played around with. What do I have to be jealous of you for?" I calmly laughed and said, "You're jealous of my loving parents and my harmonious family. Unlike you, who grew up in a miserable family. Your father cheats on your mother, and every time he messes around with other women outside, your mother takes it out on you, using you as a punching bag. Olivia, you're nothing but a complete pity. You've lost completely." Olivia went crazy, shouting at me in a fit of rage. "Shut up, you slut." I said shut up. Amidst the chaos, I suddenly looked up and shouted, "Olivia's mom, why are you here?" Olivia froze for a moment and subconsciously looked up. Taking advantage of this gap, the police officer who was cooperating with me immediately rushed forward and pulled me out. Only then did Olivia react, still struggling desperately. A painful scream rang out. As Olivia struggled with the police, the knife in her hand accidentally stabbed into her own belly. The mother-in-law, who was being held on the side, saw the scene, turned pale with fright, and exclaimed, "Call an ambulance quickly. My grandson must not be harmed. I visited Tom in prison, and I brought my lawyer with me." Tom stared at me viciously through the glass window. "You slut, how dare you come to see me?" I had my lawyer submit a divorce agreement to Tom, sign it. Seeing the agreement, I handed over. Tom burst into laughter. "You want a divorce and to take most of my property? Dream on, bitch. You want a divorce, but I won't allow it." I scrutinized Tom. How did I ever turn a blind eye and not see the scum in front of me? I looked at Tom coldly, my words devoid of any emotion. "I'm giving you the divorce agreement as a formality. If you don't agree, I can sue for divorce at any time. Your Affair is a fact. Divorce is inevitable. Tom was furious that he pounded on the table, threatening to kill me. After being stopped by the guards, he changed his tactics to threats. I'll be out in a few months, and then we'll see if I kill you or not. I laughed, mocking his naivety. Do you think no one knows what you've been up to? You'll be out in 10 years, if you're lucky. Tom looked at me in disbelief, his eyes filled with astonishment. You bastard, what have you done? I replied. The USB drive you hid in your father's study. I've already handed it over to Mr. Chen at your company. Tom, who had just stood up, instantly slumped back into his chair. No one knew better than him what this meant. He had embezzled company assets and siphoned off project funds. After I submitted the evidence of his crimes, the company had already decided to take action against him. With tens of millions in dirty money. Such a large sum was enough to keep Tom inside for 10 years. He wanted to get back at me and find me after a decade. Tom was scared that he began to cry, admitting his mistakes to me. Kneeling before me and begging for mercy. Wife, I was wronged. I just made the mistakes that any man would make. Why must you be so ruthless towards me? Wife, I beg you to help me. I promised to turn over a new leaf when I get out. Moments ago, he was threatening to kill me, and now he was desperately begging me, addressing me as his wife. His change of heart was swift indeed. Unfortunately, I had long seen through the true nature of the scumbag. His tearful plea was sickening. I didn't want to spend another minute in this dump, leaving the scumbag to enjoy it on his own. The agreement is left for you to sign. Let me know when it's done. The scumbag kept pleading with me, repeatedly calling my name. I stopped in my tracks and turned to look back. He thought I had changed my mind, looking at me with joy. Wife, have you come to your senses? Have you decided to help me? I gave a cold smile. I just forgot to tell you one piece of news. The scumbag paused, asking, what is it? I spoke slowly. Olivia is pregnant, and it's a boy. It's a pity. She stabbed herself to death. Tom went completely crazy, charging at me like a frenzied beast. He forgot. We are now people of two different worlds. No matter how crazy he became, he couldn't pose any threat to me. The glass door of the prison separated him from me. His remaining years were destined to be spent in prison, to repent for the mistakes he made. Stepping out of jail, I saw my father and my daughter. After treatment, my father's illness had been effectively controlled, and his health was gradually improving. When my daughter saw me, she waved her hands excitedly. Emma wants a hug. I bent down, lifted my daughter, and held her tightly in my arms. The pleasant surprise of regaining what was lost brought tears to my eyes. I had promised to protect my daughter and ensure her well-being for a lifetime, and I had kept that promise. Seeing my teary eyes, my father felt heartbroken. Daughter, everything is past now. It's good that they're gone. Don't be sad. I shook my head. Dad, I'm not sad. I'm happy. I ascend it wonderful for the 3 generations of us to live happily together in the future, in the second chance at life. The 2 most important people in my life were safely by my side. What else could make me happier than this? No. Even my tears are tears of joy. I vowed to be their strongest support and prevent them from being hurt in the slightest. Tom was sentenced to 10 years. Olivia's crimes were even more severe than his, leading to a direct sentence of 12 years. When the judgment was made, Tom's parents fainted in the courtroom. His father suffered a sudden heart attack and passed away a week after returning home from the hospital. His mother, though not dead, couldn't withstand the relentless blows and went completely crazy. Following the court's ruling, I successfully divorced Tom. I was granted custody of my daughter Emma. Tom's assets were frozen and seized by the court due to financial fraud. However, this did not cause any substantial harm to me. I moved out of Tom's house and back to my parents' home. Kitty returned the $800,000 that she had kept for me back to me. Initially, this money was partly provided by Olivia and partly transferred from my in-laws' account, with no connection to Tom. With this money as a safety net, my life became much easier. My dad's health was improving day by day, and in his spare time, he helped take care of my daughter. He would pick her up and drop her off at school every day, allowing me to work outside and realize my own value. Although my salary was not high, it was enough to cover the family's expenses. Most importantly, the company was close to home, allowing me more quality time to spend with my family. Despite going through dark times, when the clouds clear, my sky will be clear and bright. The future is full of sunshine and hope.